Alright folks, today I got the latest action flick from the bald man himself. Jason Statham. This time around, he's tired of being the transporter or some mercenary. Even beekeeping got old, so the bald dude switches things up and becomes a construction worker. Some mafia guys accidentally kidnap his boss's daughter. So you know these dudes are seriously out of luck. Right, what's gonna happen to these unlucky bastards? Let's find out right now. Our main guy, the bald dude, his name's Levon. He's a tough dude who went through hell. Used to be in the army. Special forces type, doing all sorts of secret ops. Now that he's out, he's gotta slave away for the man. Working construction just to get by. He doesn't have a place of his own. Just crashes in his beat-up old car parked somewhere near the site. At night he probably chills. Scrolls online or something. Then bright and early he's up. Brushes his teeth, washes up, heads to work. Life's just kinda quiet. Good thing is, he's a pretty chill, friendly guy, so the crew under him and the boss really like him. The company's run by Joe Garcia, a decent middle-aged dude, along with his wife Carla and their daughter Jenny. Like a real typical family business. Jenny, their oldest daughter, just wrapped up her first semester at some fancy college. To celebrate, she asks her dad for a chunk of cash to go out partying with her friends. But her dad, the boss, thinks it's way too much money. So he pushes back hard, saying she's just wasting money she doesn't need to spend. But the mom's softer, tells him just let her do what she wants. Well, the boss lady spoke, so the actual boss doesn't dare argue back. In the end, he reluctantly agrees, gives Jenny his credit card, tells her to do whatever. Our bald guy sitting nearby listening to all this, just kinda smiles. Suddenly he spots this weird truck just kinda creeping up nearby. His soldier senses start tingling, so he goes over to check things out. When he gets there, he finds two big dudes ganging up, beating the crap out of one of his crew members. Without missing a beat, Levon grabs an old bucket full of nails nearby. He walks towards the two strangers, slow but menacing, with that cold battlefield look in his eyes. Tells the two jerks to back off and leave his guy alone. But these two idiots must have a death wish or something. They just ignore him, so Levon just chucks the bucket of nails at them, taking the chance to strike first. Strike first, ask questions later. Right, gotta get the upper hand quick. Doesn't even care if they're packing heat. With just a few basic moves, their buddies see this from afar and start coming over, looking to gang up on him. Bald dude points the heater right at his enemies with that ice-cold stare. Smarten up and get the hell out of here now, before I get really pissed. These wannabe gangsters see that, know they're outmatched, so they just bail without anyone saying a word. Bunch of punks. Guess they thought the sleeping tiger was Hello Kitty or something. After chasing off those goons, Jenny, who'd been watching from the sidelines, runs over, totally surprised that the bald guy could handle himself like that. Oh my god, that was awesome. Did you learn that stuff in the army? She asks if Levon can teach her some basic self-defense moves. But bald guy turns her down, tells her to keep it quiet, don't let the boss find out. Then Jenny gives Levon some homemade cookies or something, says they're a gift from her grandma for him. After work at the site, Levon drives over to pick up his daughter, Mary, from her grandpa's place, his father-in-law. His father-in-law's a rich guy who always looks down on him with total contempt. The guy never liked Levon, just sees him as some gold digger who married into money. Always blames him for not being there for his wife when she needed him most. He thinks Levon's a terrible dad, unfit to care for Mary, especially since he's living out of his car. Plus, the father-in-law thinks Levon is violent and dangerous, based on some diagnosis of PTSD and brain trauma from his army days. Truth is, Levon never really got the right treatment, and those war memories still mess with him every single day. Even worse, the old man uses his power and money to screw with Levon legally. He hires a team of pricey lawyers, asking the court to limit how much time Levon gets with his kid. He went from seeing Mary 2 hours a week down to just 1 hour every 2 weeks. Under strict supervision. But the real reason the father-in-law hates Levon is cause he blames him for his daughter's death. Mary's mom, the truth is, she struggled with depression her whole life, and ended up taking her own life while Levon was deployed overseas. Her dad just can't accept that, always trying to make Levon's life a living hell. To get custody of Mary back, Levon scraped together every penny he had, saving up 10 grand to give his lawyer as a retainer. He even had to rent a tiny, crappy room just to show the court he has a stable place to live, even if it sucks. Friday night, Jenny and her girlfriends decide to go all out, live it up while they're young. She preps carefully, hooks up the whole crew with fake IDs so they can get into the club no problem. Inside, they're drinking, dancing like crazy, totally unaware some creepy dude is watching Jenny. He's watching her from a distance, with this weird look in his eye, like a predator sizing up its prey. After partying for a bit, The group hits up a bar to take a break and keep the good times rolling. Jenny smartly flirts with the waiter to snag a good table for everyone. But after she tells him her name, the waiter immediately calls that creepy dude from earlier. Tells him Jenny's here, when Jenny leaves the table to take a friend to the bathroom. The guy silently follows her. He waits until she's alone. Then boom, covers her mouth, drags her outside and shoves her into a car. Jenny just vanishes into the night, leaving her friends totally freaked out, wondering what the hell just happened. A few days later, when Levon shows up for work, he hears Jenny's been missing since Friday night. Her parents are freaking out. They called the cops, but aren't getting the help they expected. Turns out, a relative is a police captain, and he basically tells them the cops will just file a report and that's it. They don't really dig deep into cases like this. Totally desperate, they turn to Levon, knowing he used to be some legendary Green Beret guy. They offer him 50 grand to save Jenny, but Levon shakes his head, says he's not that guy anymore, doesn't want to get dragged back into the violence. Later that day, he goes to see an old army buddy. This guy was blinded in the war, but he made it out cause Levon saved his life. Sitting with his buddy, he lays out the whole situation with Jenny, feeling torn up cause he doesn't know what he should do. His friend gently tells him, "Man, that girl needs you. I'd be buried back on some battlefield if you hadn't saved me that day." And this is just like that. Don't live with the regret later. That hits home, wakes something up in Levon, makes him change his mind. Next morning, he goes over to the boss's house, finds him sitting stunned in his daughter's room, just spacing out watching a video of her playing piano. Turns out Jenny actually turned down a music scholarship to study business. Wanted to follow in her dad's footsteps. Seeing the boss hurting so bad, Levon opens up, tells him how after his wife died, he left the army and a lot of people turned their backs on him. Only the boss's family took him in, treated him like one of their own. Looking the man straight in the eye, he gives his word he'll bring Jenny back safe. Levon starts his investigation at the bar where Jenny was last seen. He notices that waiter acting super sketchy, secretly passing stuff to customers. Feels like the guy knows something shady's going on. Looking closer, he finds a security camera with its wires cut and one of Jenny's earrings lying nearby. This waiter's definitely involved, so Levon waits for him to leave the bar, sneaks a tracker onto his car. He tails the waiter through busy streets to some rundown house out in the suburbs. Without knocking, Levon carefully slips inside, gets the drop on him with the shotgun, forces him to spill the truth. But this punk stays quiet, trying to act tough, making Levon lose his patience. Guess he wants to do this the hard way. He drags him into the bathroom, shoves him in the tub, uses a wet towel and water over his face to make him talk. The second time around, he can't take it. The waiter panics and confesses he works for some dangerous crew, guys who'd kill you without blinking. Just then, his buddy shows up unexpectedly, hears screaming from the bathroom and pulls out a piece. Ready to go, Levon quickly uses the waiter as a human shield, blasts the buddy with the shotgun, and takes care of both of them permanently. Checking out the bodies, he recognizes tattoos marking them as part of some notorious Russian mafia outfit. Holy crap, this just got complicated. He quickly grabs all the cash he can find in the house and gets out. But doesn't go far, just finds a spot to watch from a safe distance. Pretty soon a black Mercedes rolls up. Some guy named Willow gets out with two young-looking, thuggish bodyguards. They go inside and are shocked to find their buddies dead all over the floor. They get even more pissed when they see 9 grand is missing. Soon after, they call in a professional cleanup crew from Chicago to wipe the place clean. When the cleanup crew leaves, Levon silently tails them from behind. Levon tails Willow to some big fancy house, keeping his distance so he's not spotted. Hiding in the shadows, he sees Willow's wife chewing him out cause he apparently didn't perform last night. Then Willow loses it and slaps her. When the wife drives off in her fancy Porsche 911, bald guy sees his chance, slips into the house, and clocks Willow with a surprise punch. Then he gets him under control and ties him to a chair hanging over the pool. He stands in front of him, knife in hand, threatening to cut the rope if Willow doesn't tell him what's going on. Willow's still trying to act tough. Like, "Do you even know who I am?" "Oh yeah, tough guy." He's talking big but you can tell he's scared shitless. Willow spills that he's high up in the Russian mafia, warns Levon not to mess with their money. Levon gives back the cash he took, makes it clear he doesn't care about the money. He just wants Jenny. Willow mutters something in Russian, mentions the name, Dimmy, and blames him for the whole mess. All this over some girl. Nobody kills 3 people just to find some girl. Losing patience, Levon cuts the rope, dropping Willow into the pool and sending him to meet his maker. So the only clue he gets is the name Dimmy. Doesn't even know who the hell this guy is or where to find him. The cleanup crew shows up to fish out the body. And then Simon, Willow's brother and the big boss, arrives right after. Checking the security footage, Simon recognizes Levon and figures out Dimmy is actually Willow's son. He also knows Dimmy's more interested in partying than working. Just screws around all day, always causing trouble for the crew. He orders his guys to find the bald dude and bring him in. Dead or alive basically, to answer for this. Meanwhile, Levon contacts an old friend who works at the DOJ. Asks him to find the address of a bar connected to these Russian mafia guys. That night, he goes to the bar. Place is locked down tight. Cameras everywhere. Pretty quickly, the cameras spot the gun he's got hidden on him. Right away, some guy gets sent over to check him out. Levon thinks fast, slips the guy a wad of cash, and gets escorted inside to meet Dutch, the black dude running the place. Dutch suspects he's a cop, asks to search his pockets for a badge or whatever, but Levon flat out refuses. Things get tense, the whole bar gets up, surrounding him, ready to throw down, but Levon doesn't flinch, basically like, bring it on, I ain't scared of any of you clowns. So using his honed hand-to-hand skills, plus chairs, beer bottles, whatever's handy, bald guy goes berserk, taking them down one by one. Of course, these thugs with their sloppy moves are no match for him. After the brawl, Dutch sees how the guy fights, realizes he's military, not a cop. Turns out Dutch used to be an army pilot, even did some time as a paratrooper. So they find some common ground and start talking more relaxed. Levon pretends he's looking to buy some illicit goods, trying to get deeper in. Dutch buys it, tells him to meet at a coffee shop. 7 a.m. the next morning for the deal. Next morning, Levon shows up on time, meets two of Dutch's guys there. He hands over the cash, but only gets a phone and told they'll be in touch. While he's driving back, Dutch calls, tells him the stuff is hidden under the driver's seat. Levon finds it, but as soon as he hangs up, he chucks it straight into the river. He doesn't need that crap. Meanwhile, one of Dutch's female associates brings an unconscious Jenny to some client. The guy's about to assault her, but Jenny suddenly wakes up, bites down hard on his cheek, tearing off a chunk of flesh. The guy screams in agony, while Jenny desperately tries to fight back. When Dutch calls back to see how he liked the product, Levon plays along like he's satisfied, then gets invited to meet someone important. Next morning, Levon meets Dutch again, and this time, sitting next to him is Dimmy, the guy he's been looking for. He plays it cool, hands over the money, lets them check his ID. They talk for a bit. Then Levon gets a suitcase full of stuff before heading out. Again, he ditches the goods, switches focus to closely examining the photos of Jenny and her friends from the night she vanished. In the pictures, he recognizes Viper, the creep who was following her all night, always lurking in the background. Using the phone he got off the waiter earlier, Levon tracks Viper's hangout to some biker bar. That night, he's staking the place out from outside, but gets spotted quick by Artemis, Dutch's associate, who calls her guys to chase him. Levon hops on a nearby motorcycle and tears off into the woods to lose them. The mafia guys are shooting like crazy behind him in the dark. He's weaving through trees and obstacles trying to stay alive. Just when he's about to get away, a bullet hits his bike, sending him tumbling right next to a cop car. But wouldn't you know it, these cops are dirty, already bought off by the mafia. They hand him right over to Boss Simon's two sons. On the drive, they grill him about Dimmy, revealing Willow was their uncle, and that he's the one who killed him. When one of them tries to tie his legs, Levon explodes, kicking each of them hard in the face. A huge fight breaks out inside the car. During the struggle, bald guy gets the gun, accidentally shoots the driver, causing the car to flip and roll down a hill. Back in the van, the fight's still going on. Levon takes on both these punks by himself, finally gets his hands on the gun again and sends them both packing for good. Then he kicks his way out, and for good measure, gives the van a shove down into the river. Boss Simon goes to the morgue to see his sons' bodies, kisses their hands like a final goodbye. Tragic family business. Guess the family line ends here. Hurt and furious, he calls a war council with his top guys. Meanwhile, Dimmy is tearing into Artemis and Viper for letting Jenny bite that client, costing him 200 grand in damages. Then he orders them to get rid of Jenny to clean up the mess. While Dimmy's probably off doing coke or something, the big boss Simon rolls up with his crew and basically storms Dimmy's bar. Your father was drowned in a pool, and the same guy killed my two sons. Then they pull up the security footage of Levon to grill Dimmy. After using various methods, the boss manages to dig up all the info on Levon. Trouble hits when the school calls Levon, saying nobody picked up Mary. After picking up his daughter, he gets a bad feeling, races over to his father-in-law's house. When he gets there, the whole house is engulfed in flames. Ignoring the danger, Levon charges into the inferno, searches frantically, finds the father-in-law alive and carries him out. Once they're safe, the father-in-law comes to and immediately blames Levon, saying he brought this trouble on them. Despite that, Mary holds her dad's hand tight, reminds him that Grandpa's only alive because of him. Levon decides to take the father-in-law to the hospital, and sends Mary to stay with his buddy to keep her safe. At his buddy's place, Levon opens up his friend's weapon stash, picks out what he needs to gear up for war. When it's time to leave, he hugs Mary tight, tells her to be good and listen, then leaves with that determined look in his eyes. Meanwhile, Artemis and Viper take Jenny out into the woods to take care of her. Following orders, sitting in the back seat, Jenny gets a terrible feeling, starts praying silently. In desperation, she kicks hard at both of them, making Viper lose control and crash the car into a tree. Using the chaos, Jenny throws open the door and bolts into the deep woods. As she runs, she manages to cut her bindings with a piece of metal she found. Freeing herself, Artemis and Viper try to chase her, but Jenny's quicker, using the terrain to lose them. Finally, she gets near a main road, flags down a passing patrol car hoping she's finally safe. But talk about bad luck. It's the same crooked cops from before, the ones on the mafia's payroll. They recognize her name and just hand her right back over to Artemis. Jenny thinks it's hopeless, but just when things look darkest, a call comes in from that client she bit earlier. He wants to see Jenny again, willing to pay $1 million to keep her conscious this time. Probably wants payback for what happened before. Meanwhile, Levon slips into Dimmy's nightclub, quickly taking out the guards with his special forces skills. Like a ghost, he moves through the place, taking out enemies left and right like some kind of phantom. He plants a grenade, sets off a huge explosion, throwing the whole club into chaos. Dimmy's goons rush in, but Levon picks them off one by one with deadly accuracy. I mean, it's Jason Statham action. What more needs to be said? He gets to Dimmy, shoots him in the hand, then puts the gun to his head, demanding to know where Jenny is. Dimmy, shaking, gives up an address, but Levon doesn't trust him, drags him along to make sure. They get to some compound out in the woods. Levon demands to know why they targeted Jenny and who's really pulling the strings. Dimmy confesses that Viper was the one taking pictures of pretty girls for clients to pick from. He just wanted the money. Levon's a father. He can't forgive scum like Dimmy, so he sends him straight to hell right then and there. He gears up, throws on a bulletproof vest, ready for the fight ahead. Levon uses a silence weapon to take out all the guards around the compound without making a sound. Just then, Dutch finds out who Levon really is. Furious he was played, he brings his whole crew for a showdown. Back at the compound, Bald Guy storms the place alone, M14 blazing, like some kind of killing machine, dropping bad guys left and right. Right in the middle of the firefight, Dutch and his crew roll up on motorcycles, joining the fray. Levon doesn't back down, like, bring him on, just dives back in, taking them down one by one. When he runs out of bullets, he switches to hand, uses one guy as a shield against Dutch. Dutch is a big dude, obviously stronger, but Levon's faster, uses his speed and a knife to finish him in close quarters combat. Before leaving, he closes the guy's eyes, a sign of respect for a fellow former soldier. Then he grabs the M14 again and reloads. Hearing Jenny cry out for help, Levon rushes to a room, kicks the door open and blasts the client who was about to hurt her, sending him straight to hell. Viper starts shooting wildly to fight back, but runs out of ammo. Levon rushes him, beats him down so fast he doesn't know what hit him. Finally snaps his neck with an elbow strike. Jenny, panicking but thinking fast, attacks Artemis, choking her out until she stops moving. All done, Bald Guy grabs an axe to cut Jenny loose, and they both head out together. Boss Simon shows up with 2 more goons. These idiots shoot first think later, accidentally torching the crooked cop's car. Then they storm the compound, spraying bullets like crazy, trying to hit Levon, but he doesn't even blink, takes one out with his gun, then tosses a grenade to send the other one to meet his maker. Before leaving, he leaves his gun behind, like a final goodbye, maybe signaling he's done with violence and guns for good. He hops on a bike, puts Jenny on the back, and they ride off, leaving Boss Simon watching helplessly. The boss has to call the top dog in the organization, wants to go after Levon, but gets shut down cause the organization's interests come first. Simon's pissed but doesn't dare argue, has to drop the whole revenge thing. Jenny gets home, runs into her parents' arms. The whole family just breaks down crying tears of joy. They hug Levon tight, choked up thanking him for saving their daughter from the jaws of death. Levon goes back to his buddy's place, sees his daughter Mary run up and hug him tight, feels like a huge weight's lifted off his shoulders. The whole group sits down together for breakfast. Laughter fills the air, just a warm family vibe. Levon looks at his daughter, Knowing everything he went through was worth it, even though there are probably still challenges ahead.